Okay, here's what we're doing here. It says a car travels 8,507 miles on 509 gallons of gas. Gas is $3.29 per gallon. Find how much it would cost for a 300-mile trip. So when I'm driving my car, I'm going to actually have to pay for gas. Okay, so have to pay for gas. Car's nice, allows me to get places, but I have to pay money for the gas, and I want to figure out how much it's going to cost. Now, I have to pay $3.29 per gallon, so let's circle that unit right there, and that means 3.29 times, because you pay it every gallon, so we got to know how many times we have to pay it. So it's times the number of gallons, but the problem is I have no idea how many gallons are going to be on this 300-mile trip. Now, there's 509 miles gallon, and I'm going to put right here, you don't want to do 509 because 509 gallons was for another trip, not for this trip. So I want you to write that down so you understand why I'm not multiplying by 509 gallons. That was for another trip that I could have took last year, but it wasn't for this trip I am about to go on. Okay, so you need to know why I'm doing what I'm doing here. Okay, but I use that last trip in a proportion. Okay, so this is my last trip, and this one here is this trip. Last trip, this trip. So I know that last trip I went 8,507 miles, and put miles, put the label there, you'll want that. And it took 509 gallons of gas to go those miles. Okay, that was our last trip. Miles, gallons. So what about this trip? Well, we got miles, we've got gallons. So this trip is going to take 300 miles. So 300 miles, and I don't know the number of gallons, so I'm going to put an X variable. And then we cross multiply and divide to find how many gallons it's going to take. So I take 509, multiply it by 300, and then divide that by 8,507. Now, round to the nearest gallon, so you get 17.9. Well, 0.9 is higher than 0.5. So if that's above a 5, we're going to round that to 18. So it's going to take 18 gallons. Well, now I know how many times I have to pay the $3.29, because it's every gallon, I have to pay it 18 times. So I take 3.29 times 18, and that's $59.22. Okay, my next problem. A car travels 14,101 miles on 921 gallons of gas. Gas is $3.67 per gallon. That's expensive gas, man. Find out how much it would cost for a 430-mile trip. So, again, I need to find the cost, and I see it's cost per gallon, but let's see, 367, and I need to multiply that by how many gallons. But again, we cannot multiply it by 921, because that's what you're going to want to do. You're going to see 921 and say, okay, I can just take 367 times 921. No, that's for last trip, okay, not for this trip. So again, 921 gallons is for the last trip, not for this trip. So I'm going to make a proportion here. That's what these ratios are called. It's called a proportion. So last trip and this trip. Okay. So and again, last trip, 14,101 miles and 921 gallons. Okay. Now this trip, what's the mile? What do we know about the miles and gallons on this trip? Well, we just know that the trip itself is 430 miles and then X gallons. So I cross multiply and divide. So 430 times 921 divided by 14,101. And that's 28.08. Now after the 28 we have a 0. So obviously 0 is not bigger than 5. So it's going to take 28 gallons about on this trip. So I pay that 28 times, and that'll find the cost of a trip. So 3.67 times 28 gives me my answer, $102.76 is how much the trip is going to cost. Okay, now in the last example I'm going to do, this is different, okay? Something different is happening. We're not paying for gas anymore. It says a car is worth $14,500 and it goes down in value at an annual rate of 12% per year. How much should you expect for your car after 5 years? Okay, so here's what we're going to write here. It says it goes down 12%, okay, every year. So normally, don't write on this paper, okay? Just watch what I'm doing, because you don't want to write this down. This is what I would think at the beginning. I would think of taking 14,500 and just subtracting, because it goes down, okay? Down 12% per year. And then I could just find 12% of 14,500. Well, here's the problem, though. Every year, but it happens 5 years, okay? It happens 5 times because it's 12% per year, and we have 5 years. So it happens 5 times every year that it goes down. So I can't just do this. It's more to it than that, okay? Again, if it just went down for 1 year, if I had just 1 year, I could definitely just find 12% of that and subtract it. Because here, just watch what I do. You don't need to write on this paper. So I divide the 12 by 100. And then that's 0.12, okay? All right, then I multiply 0.12 times 14,500. Okay, and that's 1,740, okay? So I take 14,500 minus 1,740, and that's 12,760. But here's why it can't be done this way, because this is just what happens after 1 year, okay? I have more than 1 year. I have 5 years. So here's how we can shorten the process a little bit so that I can get my answer right away, okay? First off, take your money, 14,500, and we're going to multiply it, okay, by a percent. Okay, but here's the thing. We're going to take 100%, because that's the original value of the car, and we're going to subtract 12%, because 12% comes off the 100%. Because this right here stands for 100% right there, okay? So I subtract 12% from that, and that's 88%, and then I divide by 100. And I take 88 divided by 100, and that's 0.88. Now, the multiplication happens every year, okay? So the multiplication is repeated, so I would want to use an exponent with how many years it happens. It happens for 5 years, so it's to the 5th power, okay? So 14,500 times 0.88 to the power of 5 is $7,652.11. And that's how much a car is going to be worth then right away in 5 years. Okay? So here's another problem I've got. Okay? And you have it on a different sheet, but it works the same, okay? A car is worth, and you have this on a sheet, you don't need to write this. A car is worth $16,000. It decreases in value by 8% each year, per year. How much is it worth in 10 years? So again, just taking $16,000 minus a dollar amount and then finding 8% of 16,000, that gets the job for just 1 year, okay? I've got 10 years to figure this out, okay? So what I want to do again is we're going to multiply, and then that multiplication repeats, so it's a power, okay? So the original value of the car is $16,000. And then this is my percent, but I got to take 100% and decreases means minus 8%. So 100% minus 8% is 92%. And we're going to divide that sucker by 100. And 92 divided by 100 is 0.92. Okay, now how many times does it repeat? It goes 10 times. So if the multiplication repeats, I use up exponent and use 10 right there to the 10th power. So 16,000 times 0.92 to the power of 10 is $6,950.22. Okay, and then the last one, a car is worth $30,000. It decreases in value by 9% per year. How much is it worth in 7 years? Now, the reason you want to know this is because we talked about trade-ins in the last video. I need to know how much is fair for them to give me for my old car, okay? And that depends on, of course, there's other things too, like the miles and the wear, but generally speaking, how much is a fair price? That's what I want to figure out when I'm figuring this out. So again, it goes down by 1%, but that percent happens every year for 7 years. So that's repeated, so we want to line up my multiplication, and because the multiplication repeats, we're going to use an exponent. So the original amount is $30,000, and then it goes down in value. So down in value means I want to take 100% and subtract 9%. That's 91%, but to put it in our math, we need to divide it by 100. So 91 divided by 100 is 0.91. See, so how that works is it loses 9%, but every year it keeps 91%, okay? It keeps 91%. So every year that happens over a 7-year span, so it's to the power of 7. So 30,000 times 0.91 to the 7th power, $24,239.49. Okay, and that's it.